Thanks for tuning in to Totally Not a Podcast, our new weekly show where we review each and every new Dragon Ball Daima episode.
Okay, welcome back to Totally Not a Podcast. This is a big one. This is Daima's greatest episode, and I am going to spend the next 90 minutes fighting anyone who disagrees.
Oh, we're going to be fighting then.
Yep. I knew we were going to be fighting. Why are you this way? Why do you hate good things? Why do you hate fun?
I want to be perfectly clear. I am taking the opposite position to AJ, not because I dislike the episode. I like, I'm sure many of you enjoyed the episode. It was fine. I just think, in the grand scheme of things, it was fine. Like, I didn't dislike the fact that I saw it. I didn't dislike the episode. I just thought it was fine.
Well, that's exciting to hear because we will have one person at each point in the spectrum. We got one person that adored the episode, one person that thinks it was fine, and one person that thinks it's the worst episode in the series so far.
Are you fucking serious?
I want to be perfectly clear as well. I'm probably closer to Tyson on this than I am to AJ.
Well, what the fuck is wrong with you both? Okay, look, I'm just going to go full pelt because this episode was fantastic. It is what Daima should have been for its entire fucking first 10 episodes. An actual sense of wonder, an actual sense of fun, a feeling that there is something in this world beyond where the characters are. Like, it felt alive. I was sad to be leaving it. Like, this was good. And I know what you're going to say. Oh, fuck, it's episode 13 and like nothing's happened.
No, that doesn't play into it at all.
Listen. Daima is flawed at its core. There's no fucking time pressure for anything. Arinsu and the margins and whatever the fuck is going on with Gloria, that doesn't matter. I barely even buy her as a villain at this point, okay? Like, none of this matters, okay? It doesn't matter. This is just a lackadaisical fucking journey back to adulthood. Fine, cool. And this was great. This was fun. This was beautifully directed. Wonderful animation. So much fun. I felt great emotions. Finally, 13 episodes deep, finally making me feel something. Yeah, it was like, this place is beautiful.
I do want to ask. I love this. I love the temperature we're at now, and I want to maintain that. And please just allow this to be further fuel to the fire. If the animation direction and animation of the episode wasn't good, where do you think it would rank for you?
Yeah, it would have been just down with the other ones from the first half of the series. But this is an animated project where the execution and delivery of that is what matters.
So here's my thing. I think that this episode was beautifully directed. The animation, there was some good animation, but it's obviously not like Goku versus Tamagami number 3.
Yeah.
The beauty in this episode lied in its direction and board. Having said that, I think it's probably my least favorite episode in the series so far. I think this episode is what Daima haters think the entire series is.
Like, yes. 1,000,000% yes. That's it. I think, for me, I don't dislike the episode at all. Like I said, it wasn't like I watched the episode and was like, oh, I kind of wish I didn't watch the episode. I feel like I wasted my time. I didn't think that. I enjoyed the episode for what it was. It was like this self-contained little nugget of a story. And I know that's what AJ was saying that he wanted more of earlier. And I'm not surprised that he loved it as much as he did. He's just being consistent. But I will say that when this show was first advertised, I think this episode exemplifies exactly what people were worried it would be. And I think Tyson put it very well there in that it is just this self-contained episode that feels largely inconsequential. There's a lot of world building, a lot of cutesy stuff. And yeah, it's good in that regard. But in terms of what people go to Dragon Ball for the most part, I'm talking about the wider community, I just don't think this is giving people what they ultimately wanted.
I'm not even really concerned about the broader community because I've obviously loved pretty much all of Daima, even some of the early stuff that people weren't super keen on. Every single episode so far has had some appeal of Dragon Ball or Toriyama that I am into. Like, a lot of the early stuff might not have had really big crazy action, but it was legitimately funny. Like, you could feel Toriyama's pen writing some of these jokes. And then some of the middle episodes had some really awesome action, even if they weren't as funny. And then some of them had really cool whatever. This had nothing for me to latch on to. There was... I borderline was kind of bummed when I finished the episode. Like, I could have used that 30 minutes for something else. and I
That's
would have probably
fucking
been
insane
happy.
to me. That's crazy.
I will also say this is the first episode where I didn't laugh out loud at something.
Yep, same.
Yeah, like there were funny moments, like Hibis or Hebus. I keep forgetting his name.
Hibis being a stool.
Yeah, that was a funny
that
kind
was
of
funny.
visual. Yeah, but it wasn't like
Certainly
laugh
wasn't out
funny.
loud funny. Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree that it was like definitely weaker in that regard. But like again, direction, in terms of art direction and visual interest and all that kind of stuff, like I think it's up there with some of the best episodes.
Yeah, 100%.
But just in terms of like narrative continuity, in terms of, you know, even character interaction, there were some nice bits that I got from this episode. I got like, obviously we got the Bullman, we got the Pansy discussion kind of thing, and that was nice. But like for that to be sort of such a I suppose a noteworthy moment for me looking back on this episode, I think it kind of speaks to the inconsequentialness or the lack of substance this episode felt like it had for me. Like being chased around by hamsters, it's funny, it's cute, it's whatever. Them inhabiting some giant world, again,
But
cute
it's
idea.
something. It's something. It's
That was a very
literally-
powerful defense of the episode.
Right, but this is listen.
That's
fucking
game over,
So
Mark.
much of Daima, so much of fucking Daima is nothing. With
No.
all respect to how much we've had fun with the comedy and whatnot, what the fuck is World 1? What
was great.
mystery did we want to know about World 1?
World
Really?
One, every
Like,
single
we
episode in World One
we
was
saw
better than
we
this.
saw some towns. Oh, cool! There are some fucking towns and a prison and a bar. Ooh, so mysterious. Here we have this whole like fucking completely different scale to stuff. A whole like right how there are giants and there are more giants here, and what is beyond the horizon. Like there is so much mystery and wonder here that was beautiful that I adored, and like you feel like you are in a different place conceptually. This is on such a different level to the rest of it. Imagine if we'd left World 2 now and all we saw was a green ocean. That would have been shit. I was so glad we had something like this. I completely agree that it's inconsequential, and like maybe placing it here might not have been the best idea, because it is just like this slam on the brakes momentum thing. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But as far as delivering on the concept of adventure, of discovering something of this world that is unique and external to what we're faced with as main characters, this was it. This was great. I love that. That was why this was phenomenal for me. And the direction, you can't just like write, oh, it was well directed. The direction is what makes it so good. That feeling at the end as all of these lights start to come off and Goku looks out the window with a sense of wonder. I was just
I cannot
wow.
wait to talk about that.
I loved
So I do want to say that I can understand what you're trying to say, but I just completely disagree with your characterization of World 1, just because I mean, like that was the world that we got to spend the most amount of time in. We got to see,
and what did we do
kings.
with it?
We got
Lots
to
of
see
stuff.
kings. We like there were loads of side stories in that whole thing, but it was all
What
good.
did the kings offer?
What do you mean?
What do you say? We have-
hang on.
We
So
have
like I had to
12
ask because
episodes
like
of podcast talking about it.
yeah, but like also
praising
more
it.
than that,
But we said time and
think,
time again that they didn't do anything. They were just there to push the plot along on the most basic level. There was no like, oh,
Right,
we have
but
a kingdom here. What do we do with this king? What does this kingdom do? Like we just got told stuff. Here we got to see things.
Oh, well, I mean, like I would probably argue that my impression of this is that it felt like a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
It did, like again, like it was all visual, but there was no substance behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas when we got to see the King Kadan, at least he played a role within the story that contributed to Glorio's whole mission, and that facilitated the rest of the story for the gang. We got to see the subordinates for him. We got to see cutaways to people that Pansy's in contact with. We got to see obviously the like biker bar that we got into in episode 3. I think we got to see Vegeta in that weird techno world. Like there were plenty of things that we got to see in World 1. I don't think seeing a world that's like evocative of Little Garden from One Piece or that one episode from GT is enough to make me think, wow, this is a real standard episode. It's not a bad addition to the World 2 by any means. I'm not making that characterization. I'm just saying that I don't think it's that it's the show-stopping installment that you're painting it as. Maybe
It's not like some magic showstopper, but it's, to me, it had a real adventure vibe where like the whole pitch of Daima is we're going to the demon world. right? And this was the first episode that felt like, oh, we're in a completely different place now that has a whole story of its own. Like, that's the way that it was conveyed. Like, to me, I get what you're saying. Like, I so agree, obviously, that King Kadan and everything that happened there plays a role in the plot. But there's nothing to that. Okay, we saw a castle. We didn't get any sense that we were like, we just felt so just. I think, how do I put this? They were just there to facilitate plot, whereas this felt like, oh, we're actually creating a world here.
I think categorizing the third Daima world as anything that you just said is like borderline disingenuous. Like, it was, I mean, obviously it wasn't as plot driven. It was a lot of world building and, more importantly, character stuff. Like, it was character work, introducing and exploring things with Glorio and Pansy and the world of the demon realm and King Kadan.
Right.
Like, it was establishing character work versus this episode, like, character wise, not like, yeah, plot wise, nothing really happens here. This is what, you know, if this was a manga adaptation, would be called a filler episode. I'm not really concerned with that. I don't care about that personally. But like, as far as like consequential like character beats that happened this episode, we got absolutely nothing. Like, we learned nothing new about a single character. We basically just stopped up in this phase for a second, did like Broken Plane number 37 while we see some like a giant dog, basically, and then we left. We learned nothing, expanded nothing. We just found out that there's another cool planet with cool stuff, which is neat, but nothing was done with it.
I would also say that, like, you know, world, just not to harp on this whole World 1 thing again, but, or not World 1, I think it's actually Demon World 3, right?
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, the first world that we go to, we also get, like, you know, the really heavy air, really detailed description of the world itself in terms of, like, you know, where the atmosphere comes from, the things that lurk underneath the kind of like cracks of the earth and all that kind of stuff, and will leap out and eat you and whatever to stay away from that.
Also establishing the like socioeconomic politics of like the Demon King.
Yeah, I found that really interesting personally.
And yeah.
That's just a fat load of nothing. They do nothing with it.
I don't understand what you mean by nothing. So, like, I understand that you see a lot of... One second. Listen to me. I understand that you're seeing a lot of something in this, but just the something that you're saying doesn't necessarily preclude what happened in World 3 to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's something different than what you're insulting in World 1.
Right, but have we not spent, right, the past, like... 12 weeks, I mean less, because obviously we've had some action beats here and there, but have we not basically gone like, oh, like this was fun and like we got a little bit of world building, but oh, I hope they do something with this. I hope they none of these hopes have ever come true. And so to just throw away the facade that we're actually going to do anything with this shit and put together an episode that isn't concerned with that. It's just, here is a beautiful part of this demon world, and we're going to flesh it out massively, and it's just going to feel great. It's going to feel like something you want to see more of, that there's something beyond the horizon, you know? Like,
I never will possibly
want
an additional minute
got
of
with this
Planet Mega.
No, I would absolutely have. I mean, the part where they talk about how there's even like more out there, I was like, I would love to see all of that. I would love to explore like something so completely divorced from anything that we typically see in this show. Like, I just found that sense of wonder so good. I thought it was conveyed so well. That was why I loved it the most. It cast aside any of the pretense that we have spoken about. Like, we're always hoping for something, hoping that doesn't come. Like, I'm so over that at this point that like I just
you're just wanting to give up. You just
yeah.
I
don't understand that at all.
No, because like I don't think it's insane to say that, like, if I spend so many episodes hoping for a change to build on something, and the show goes, okay, we're actually just not going to be concerned with that. We're actually just going to deliver something with a very clear vision, and we're just going to deliver that perfectly. In isolation, I love that. Again, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying as far as this being inconsequential or being, you know, slamming on the brakes in the middle of a story. I completely agree with that. That's a big issue, 100%.
Yeah.
But as a a single episode as a wonderful 25 minutes of just exploring a world and being so full of fun and visual greatness. Like, I loved it.
Well, I think
that to me is why it's my favorite of these exploration episodes, you know? Like,
I can totally understand why you feel the way that you do. I guess just from my point of view is that I'm still very much invested in the story of what's happening. And last week's episode really kind of like not last week's, technically it's 2 weeks ago, but the last episode really kind of like pushed the story forward in terms of two teams obtaining the remaining Dragon Balls. And so I was kind of anticipating something more from this episode, and when it came out to be something that was in fact the most inconsequential episode of the series so far, it kind of left me a little in want. I can totally understand why you liked it. Trust me, I liked it for pretty much all the same reasons. It's just I haven't fully surrendered to the idea yet of like this series offering nothing from what it's promised.
Yeah, I mean, I sit even further on the fence. I just don't accept any of the premise there. I don't think that this was an enjoyable episode even on its own. Like that's
insane to me.
I didn't laugh out loud once. There wasn't a single action sequence that I was like, whoa. I mean, there were some solid action sequences, but like nothing
so
mind blowing. Obviously, again, the direction was good, but I'm sorry, good background art and board is just not enough to carry a story. There's a reason that story comes first and foremost. And I just don't think anything compelling was delivered on that front.
Seeing as I kind of like fall somewhere in between you two, I am very curious to ask. I'll start with Tyson. What was the part of it that you disliked the least, or was there a part that you disliked the least?
Oh yeah, there was stuff that I liked about this episode. Maybe a tie between the stepping on Hibis gag and the sequence where Goku clutches the megalith child from swatting at the ship with the Kamehameha. I thought that sequence was really awesome. Oh, and also when Goku transforms inside of the little like book bag. I thought all of those were really cool.
And what was the part that you liked the least, AJ? I'm trying to see how close you can get into this.
I guess if I had to pick something, I guess probably like just the big action sequence against the giant, because like that just, I guess if I was going to put on like my analyst brain, I'd be like, well, there's no real like need for any of this, you know? Like they could very easily escape the situation in 3 seconds. Like this doesn't need to
now
exist.
Extrapolate that thought across 22 minutes.
But I think that's the thing for me. Like that then started to feel like regular Daima again, because like all of the it was just a lot less fun at that point. But it was just great fun for me to see. Like the dog animation stuff was great throughout, and that dog was really fun. It was just a fun, silly set piece. Well, I enjoyed Neba like freaking out at one point about cool. Like where they are, and
I like that.
I don't know. To me, there was just so much fun. Like I get that. I'm sure maybe there are people listening, or maybe even you think this at the back of my mind, that like I'm only so hot on this because it was a visual feast. But like that's genuinely not it. It's, I promise you, hand on heart, that's not it. Like that.
I find it very hard to believe you.
Yeah,
trust me.
I was gonna post the challenge of AJ spends the rest of this podcast praising the episode without using the words direction or animation,
no,
or storyboard.
I agree that story has to come first, but this is an episode that to me was all about like #vibes, you know, like it was about building an atmosphere. There's not that much dialogue in this episode. It's just this fun, quaint adventure for 25 minutes. And I found that really fun. I was so in it. I was like, I love this world. I love just watching people interact within it. There's no critical analysis I can throw off the cuff about it. I just felt so compelled by it. And as I said, like when it came to leaving it, when those like orbs start like lighting up the sky and you see the inhabitants coming back from school or whatever it is, I'm like, this is great. What is this? I would love to see more of this. This is a real living, breathing world. And it feels organic. It didn't feel like so much of early Daima's Wonder, where it's like, okay, we're seeing this part of the world because it's facilitating the plot in some way. Not everything needs to facilitate plot. If we're going to do an adventure story in a new world, let us like bask in this environment. You know, we've talked so much about how this is an RPG. I love, and I'm sure many gamers feel this, just walking out into a world and exploring and seeing something and wondering, what is that? You know, there's more to this world beyond what the characters are facing. And for me, that's what this episode brought and why I really liked it so much.
So it's rather beautiful.
I mean, obviously, at some point, we should probably get to discussing the actual episode. But before we get there, I will say one final thing on my front, which is, of course, I get where you're coming from in that you thought this was just kind of like a beautiful moment to like stop and explore some of the like grandeur of the demon world. And it's just kind of like a fun side adventure.
Yep.
My problem with that is you can do that while also not having the episode be just bad and boring, basically. like think about, this isn't a perfect example because it's not an adventure show at that point, but think about the like literal filler episode in the Cell arc where Gohan hangs out in the village with Lime. Like that is sort of the same thing. Again, it's not an adventure episode, but it was like structurally is a similar situation where that episode basically just served to stop and give time to explore the world and characters within it in this current circumstance. But it took that time to explore characters and kind of expound on existing things. Like you leave that episode with a much greater like sense of the world, and you've kind of learned a little something about Gohan. You've learned a little something about the Earthlings around Cell, and there's a lot of good, motivating character work that's done there. Versus this, yeah, it's like we're just kind of stopping and enjoying some of this world, but it didn't do, I don't feel like it did anything with that. Like it really just felt like we were stopping and it's like, hey, look, there's a giant over there, and moved on. It's like the TV show equivalent of being on a road trip and somebody like pointing out the window, hey, look at that mountain. And it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you keep driving and then the mountain's gone. Like nothing changed here. Nothing was learned. Nothing was enriched.
Yeah, I think that kind of hits my biggest issue with it. And it's kind of unfortunate because, like, again, my issue with it isn't anything to do with like the contents of it necessarily. Like the actual subject of the episode could have been what it is, but they could have made it such that it was required viewing. Like I could literally, I'm assuming now, given how next episode will transpire, if next episode transpires and just continues the story, you could very literally just lift this episode out and nothing will be lost. And that's unfortunate.
Well,
and I don't think...
I have some theories against that, actually, that we'll get to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, let me at least throw my side of things as far as the Lime episode goes. Because I agree that, like, you know, obviously in an ideal world, these kinds of episodes should be able to do that. But I think like the only reason that I think you feel so strongly about it in this episode is because what you got from that Lime episode is everything that I was asking for from those early episodes that it didn't give me, where I wanted us to go to these places and deal with problems that its inhabitants are having. That's what makes that Lime episode so good. It's taking our heroes to a place that we wouldn't normally go, and it's a small people problem that Gohan deals with, and he meets a new character along the way and gets invested in their issues and helps solve their problem. And I love that, and that's so much of what I wanted from early Daima. And I think had we had stuff like that, then this episode would have felt like the other side of that coin, where you can actually do stuff to just grow the world and just have fun within that space, where, you know, you learn that, oh, we have all these giants out there and this is so completely different to everything we've seen. This whole ecosystem is so completely different to everything we've seen. It's just it's a fun little bottle episode. And I agree, again, I don't disagree whatsoever that it you know, halts the plot and doesn't add much.
It didn't need to halt the plot though. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is like you can have all of those things. Like again, the world building, the color, right, the direction, everything can be there while also contributing to the progression of the story.
Yeah, I
mean, I get it. I just don't personally need that. And I think like just having for an episode like this, I should say.
That's a solid.
Yes, I should clarify. Not in general.
I don't need any of that story like or character. I would just like some pretty bright backgrounds.
Yeah, but I mean, look, let's segue into some of the actual stuff, because I think like to immediately disprove that this episode adds nothing.
Oh yeah. No, I just recall like there was one thing. Yeah, the fish is turned off.
The fish lad is deactivated.
Yeah, the fish is turned off. I stand corrected. There is a 20-second segment of this episode that has consequence. Sorry, I stand corrected.
Oh, and Gloria talks to Arinsu. Like, there is stuff peppered through.
No, yeah, there is a good 90 seconds of
gonna,
maybe consequential stuff.
I'm gonna say that you could like I would have just assumed that Gloria was in contact with Arinsu all this time.
Because
I wouldn't
that's
have
all
needed
that
to see.
storyline has been for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I did like the presentation of turning off the warp fish. I really enjoy the neon little room where the switch is held, and like I don't know, a lot of the expression drawing in this scene was really great, from Degasu's like genuinely fearful stuff to watching Warp-sama just like fucking power down. I thought that was all really great.
It was very ominous.
I didn't know that he was like a machine. It's kind of like, is that the implication?
I think it's
with
part
the lever?
machine, part magic, right?
But I mean, like, why would you? Why a lever? Like, I'm just why
It
not
is
like
a
a
good
fucking
question.
crystal ball? Like, why a lever? And he looks kind of robotic as well when he turns off, but maybe that's just a CGI. I'm not sure. But
I think I
don't know.
think he's supposed to be part machine.
Yeah, I don't know. The fish is off, and it's good that something like that happened in this episode, because without it, goddamn, I'm not so sure.
This does beg a question though, which is, so like Degasu's obviously super freaked out about doing this, but it's a switch, right? Doesn't it go both ways?
Yeah.
If it's that scary and it goes wrong, can't he just flick it the other way and fix it?
I'm assuming that's why it is a switch, so that it can be just undone like a flip of the switch.
Well, but then why is he so freaked out?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And I also find it funny that it took this long to do this. If this was
it
option.
is a good point. Like, they keep coming. Oh yeah, we could just
I don't know
close
why
the door.
Yeah, why didn't they just close the door in world when they were in like the third demon world? Like that. It seems it seems quite convoluted, but I guess Arinsu will unflick the switch or some shit. I don't know. Probably. I presume that will be the case. I assume that's going to happen next week, because how many episodes are we at? Like, so 13. So episode 14 is next week. There's 7 left.
7 left. It's a total of 20 episodes, and episode 15 is having a special early preview. So I guess that would be a significant one.
Yeah, sounds like it.
If they're showing that.
Okay. Also, this episode didn't have any Majin Ku, so I was like,
Where's
the
the boys
that's a valid criticism. Not having Majin Ku and Majin Du.
They're all valid criticisms.
Fuck the story. Give me that green boy.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't even know what else there is to say about this episode, because there's giant hamsters, there's a weird dog.
Well, we've got a good 10 or so slides to discuss.
I was going to say, I came into this ready to be like, they did all the fun stuff here and here and here, and I've spent the first half an hour like defending just the episode's existence. I don't know how. What are we supposed to do now other than pull up slides and me go, this was so much fun. You guys go,
no.
I'm just saying.
The disparate.
I'm just going to say the only reason you feel like you need to defend its existence is because the episode doesn't do a good job in justifying its existence.
True.
Wow, that's the kind of argument I expect from Twitter. Go off, King. Let them know.
You can clip it, let them know. So we have the Switch thing. What else happened? Did anything have so outside of the Switch thing?
We had a few
happen?
things here. We had
first of all, I was
breaking
right.
Again.
I was right. I said last week this episode will absolutely begin with the fucking ship crashing again. You were all like, there's something nefarious going on. Ooh. It's like, no, that shit is crashing. And it did.
So funny. I can't, but we really should have been keeping a counter. Somebody go ahead and make a calendar like appointment on their phone for like 2 days before episode 20's podcast to have one of us go and count every single ship break, so that we can have a total at the end. I want to see that.
Is it in the double digits yet?
I think we're at 10 now, I think.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
we must
11.
surely be in double digits.
I actually cannot believe that by the time this series is done, it will have had more than half of its episodes, more than half the number of crashes as there are episodes in the series.
Yeah.
Like
Crashes or
no,
otherwise ship delays.
I wonder, has Goku had that many fights?
Yeah, just in total. What, in Daima?
In Daima,
we've
Goku
had more crashes than fights. Absolutely.
Than Goku fights specifically, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a frightening statistic. But okay.
Yeah.
I think what's really funny is that like we were like, oh, why does the ship keep crashing? Oh, that's so annoying. Ah, lame. And then they were like, they acknowledged it. They made a joke of it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, that's cool. That's great. And if then no ship crashes had happened after that, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
But the fact we're back to ship crashing again, it's like, well, at this point, it's kind of like, you're not being inventive in how to transition people from place to place, and you're still doing it. Like, come on.
It's
And also just to add another little bit, by the way, the reason for not flying in the first demon world or the third demon world was because the air would take up too much stamina. There's no reason not to fly now.
The reason for that is they're bringing their like camping stuff with them, basically supplies. There isn't much in the way of like shops and places to sleep.
Right,
in the
but
demon
like,
world.
how long is it going to take them to get to where they need to go?
They don't know. It's been taking like, they've been in the demon world over a week at this point or near it.
So something I also just want to float by is that Goku and Co can't go to like King Kai's planet from like Earth.
Yeah.
Would there not be a way for Goku just to use instant transmission to go in between demon worlds?
Well, first of all, they can go to Kai's planet from Earth.
No, they can via instant transmission, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist in like outer space.
It's nebulous, but
It's like a
still
different
can,
dimension kind of
they
thing.
They can teleport. I don't know if it's. I mean, it depends.
Well, that's
on
how
if
I
you're
always
looking
interpret
at
it.
guidebooks or whatever. But I mean, it's a place that he's able to teleport to.
I
and
just
from,
want
so.
them to stop crashing, and I want it to just go. Stop crashing the stupid planes all the time. They have 2 engineers with them, and they still keep crashing. They have a professional pilot, and they still keep crashing. They have the most powerful beings in existence. In effect, they have the most optimized crew they could possibly have, and they still keep double digits crashing. It is infuriating. And when I tell you it is an infuriating way to kick off this episode, it just started on a bad note. Because again, like you said, AJ, it was very much the case that like, it was a running joke, and then they acknowledged the joke and like, haha, epic. But they did it again. And that's not winking at the audience. That's just a confession. That's a bold-faced confession of just saying, we don't have any other means of inhibiting their progress because they are too good and too covered all over. And so what we're going to do is, I don't know, I guess it's just... what was the actual reason behind this one crash, actually? Was it just a random fucking malfunction?
Well, yeah, the ship was malfunctioning at the end of last episode, and Pansy in her infinite wisdom was like, I fixed it because I put 2 cables together, and that did nothing, and so they crashed.
But what was the actual... Why did the malfunction take place? Was it like hit by the...
Because frankly, no one can build good ships in the demon world. They're all shit.
Yeah, there is not a prescribed reason. Mark.
They're not ships, you see, they're planes.
They're planes.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
They're planes.
Yeah. There's a distinction between those two.
It is kind of perplexing that we're still doing this, because like there's 3 layers of lampshading something. There is actual lampshading where you parody like a trope or otherwise like narrative device. That's fine if done right. There's bad lampshading, which is using lampshading as a way to excuse your poor writing. Like you're not subverting it, you're just using the bad thing, but then acting like it's okay because you mention it. That's like I don't know, like Family Guy does that a lot. This goes beyond. This is not just bad lampshading. It's like the guy goes up to the party, puts the lampshade on his head. Nobody isn't self-aware that it's not funny. But then you see him at work the next day, and he's still wearing the lampshade. It's like, didn't you just make fun of this? What's happening here?
Oh man,
what an episode! Truly, it was one of the episodes of all time.
Hey, we got Hoi Poi capsules though. We were talking about those the other day.
That was cute.
Yeah, why didn't she bring a plane?
Oh, because the demon world requires different planes. They did establish that.
No, it requires different planes to get there.
And to fly in, presumably.
Why I wouldn't presume, especially if the inconvenience is just I need to carry one extra tiny capsule. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. She brings a capsule of tools, I guess, which is better than nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I enjoyed Pansy and Bulma bonding. That was cute. That was the interactions we were hoping for a while ago. And Hyper's got to be a stepping stone, and he was just so unbothered. Even as his arms were shaking, he was struggling. He was fine.
Did anyone else feel like that was out of character for him?
No.
Yeah, a little bit actually.
I kind of felt like he wouldn't take that and would be quite a matter of fact about why he doesn't like it and why he won't stand for that.
Actually,
not in a mean way, but in a very kind of like standard way.
I take it back. I initially agreed with you, and that was my initial thought, because like you think back, he didn't even want to fight or do anything. He seemed pretty unwilling to do stuff. But it's occurring to me that Pansy told him to do this, and Pansy is like the daughter of his boss. So I think it makes sense that he's like having to be subservient to them.
Yeah, Hyper's whole vibe is like, I don't want to do literally anything, but I will if I am ordered to, and I must. Fine, sure.
Yeah. No, I think it's fine.
He is literally me.
We got another 12 seconds of consequence here.
We have established that Arinsu has 3 balls, and Glorio talks to Arinsu. It's something we may have known for many, many episodes at this point.
That's
almost like the good parts of this episode where everything else.
You're missing the most important part. We got to see Dr. Arinsu and her Gloria again. We got another frame of her drawn beautifully. I don't know what more you can ask for. Look at her. Okay,
we got to see more of Arinsu's boobs. But my point is that like the again, that didn't need to be shared. That could have just been assumed. I thought that was the whole point of showing us that Gloria was in contact with Arinsu was just to know that he is in contact with Arinsu. Just reinforcing that point isn't new information.
I don't want us to sit here and fucking struggle to talk about an episode you guys don't have enthusiasm for. So let me just ask a general question, right?
All right.
This whole Arinsu plotline, right? And especially something that's going on with her and Glorio. Like, do you even get sinister vibes from this at this point? Because that's the one thing that's like been in the back of my head now for a couple episodes where I'm like, I don't feel evil vibes from her in any meaningful way. She doesn't feel like a threat. It almost feels like we're setting ourselves up for a subversion where the reveal with Glorio is that, actually, Arinsu is good.
I have a few things. So, like, yes, I don't feel sinister because I don't think we've been really given the chance to feel like that she has any sort of, like, what does she want? She just wants, the the Demon World Dragon Ball so that she can secure funding for whatever her research will be. And
she wants to be Demon King.
It. Right. So sorry. Yeah, she wants to be Demon King so that she can continue fund, her research uninhibited and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I assume is the whole thing. Like, because she didn't have any ambition of becoming Demon King until Goma threatened to withdraw funding, right? So, I'm guessing that's where her ambition lies. And if it's not, fine. But, I've just been given no indication otherwise. But I guess every scene with Arinsu has sort of been undercut with comedy through Ku and Du, and they've been great. There's been some of my favorite parts of the entire series, and I hope to see more of them in that capacity. But when it comes to, her role and how she plays in the whole broader scheme of things is particularly in this episode, after everything that transpired in the last episode, I kind of was anticipating Goma and Degasu to confront her or, do something, because it's not like she is anywhere that they don't know about. She is very clearly in her room in the same castle they are. It's not like she's been it's not like she's in a way in a location they can't otherwise obstruct her or isolate her or confront her or anything. They didn't even discuss anything about what they would do about her. They just turned off the fish to inhibit Goku and Ko's progression, which is a fine move to make, but again, you would question why didn't they do that earlier. But ignoring that for a second, I just don't know why they aren't doing anything with Arinsu at all.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing for me. She just feels like she's kind of vibing, and so I don't feel like there's any real threat there. I'm kind of just waiting for some kind of, what they would, I guess the scriptwriter is trying to plan to be subversion, but I don't think will be, because there's just not been any sense of threat. You can look at someone like Goma, right, who is very unserious. He's not like some threatening bad guy, but we've seen a tangible effect of his presence on the world with the life stealing and the general lack of quality of life in the World 3. We don't really have that for Arinsu, and like I think the answer that I think most people will go to was, hold on, she's associating with Maba, who created Majin Buu. It's like, well, sure, but Maba also seems exceptionally chill and very concerned about accidentally creating a terrifying fucking Margin again. She doesn't seem particularly evil either. That almost seemed like a mistake, you know? Like,
well, I think part of this conversation is just born from how little happens in this episode. Because if you look back and forget that this episode happened, the previous 3 episodes were her making like major moves on the Dragon Balls. And now she has acquired 2 little combatants, one of which seems quite formidable, and has secretly acquired the other 2 via espionage with oh my god, what the hell is his name? It's been so long since he's done anything. Gloria.
Talking about Gloria.
So yeah, it's been so long since he's done anything. I've clearly just wiped him from my mind.
That's why he needed that phone call, just to remind us that he exists.
Yeah,
he exists.
She's doing a lot. I don't think that she's sputtered out or anything. I will also say, as far as her being good or bad or whatever, she was literally the one that made the collars that control everybody in the first Demon Realm. I don't think she's exactly a saint.
Kind of went nowhere as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I had forgotten that, to be fair. I'll take the L on that.
Like, one thing I will ask, though, or see what your thinking is on this, but there was like an emphasis put on not using too much of Boo's essence to make this one creature, lest they lose control, blah, blah, blah. That was sort of like, I felt like that was being, like, said for a reason, but it didn't seem to be. And now I'm thinking, like, what if Ku and Do fuse? Would that be a potent enough combination of the Boo essence to create a version of him that would be dangerous and powerful? I don't know. Like,
I always took that to just mean, like, because, like, in the lore of this world, Boo, when they created Boo, it was like a catastrophic event for the Demon Realm. It, like, irreversibly changed the Demon Realm. It was so bad. And so that seemed to me like posturing about doing their damnedest to make sure they don't accidentally like create another like weapon of mass destruction. Like they want to make a strong Majin, but they really need to be careful to not, destroy the Demon Realm again, essentially.
I guess just to everyone's end there, I don't feel like I understand where this is going, which is a good thing, I guess, because we know that like the current trajectory is for Do and Ku to confront Goku and Co. for their Dragon Balls, or Gloria to double cross or whatever. That can't be just it, because the story has already shown us that that's what they have in store for us. There has to be some sort of subversion, like AJ said. I just don't have any idea what it would be. I can't help but think that it has to involve Degasu and Goma in some capacity. I still think Degasu has more of a role to play in this than we might think, just because he's had such a minor role
he
to
exists.
play. Yeah, because he exists at all.
Yeah,
but he has to do something.
Yeah,
and also the fact that he asked for his own wish as well at the start of this of the series kind of like left me wondering, well, what do you want? What do you want to wish for? So like I hope we get answers to those questions at the very least.
See, that always kind of just felt like a throwaway, like funny line, like, well, if you get a bunch of wishes, can I have one wish? But I mean, you could be okay. No, let me back up and say, obviously you could be right about that. And there's a moment in this episode that makes me think that maybe you're onto something with another thing that you talked about before, which is where they start talking about this like magical crystal entity thing that you can get in the demon world that is meant to power these ships. So we now have like an actionable way for Bulma or someone to get this stuff and make that ship that's chilling back on the lookout work, which you've been waiting for. I wonder
that has to do something.
Yeah,
surely,
I wonder
surely.
if this helps your theory at the very least. Is it something?
Yeah.
I mean, if it does come back around to tie into the plot, I will be bringing that up and I will be rubbing it in.
This This is the thing that when Mark was like, you could delete this episode, I'm like, maybe not. Because this actually, even more than turning off Warp Sama, seems like the thing that could maybe end up paying off. Now, this is about 60 seconds of scene, so I don't think this necessarily saves the episode, AJ, but if something comes of it, it at least will be
basically
of
what
consequence.
we're saying. What Tyson is saying is that all the parts of consequence have nothing to do with the bits that you like.
That's true.
I think
It's just a separate conversation.
I think maybe something over the past 2 weeks just like broke me with Daima. I think like me being so disappointed with something like Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta has just like, I think it's like fundamentally like broken my interest in the story. And so just like a fun adventure episode just isolated from that was like nicely executed. I'm just like, this is everything I want.
This is the exact framing that I needed for your opinion. It's not that like it is like that it is uncompromisingly brilliant. It is just that it is the warm chicken soup to your fever that you're enduring right now. It is exactly what you need. It's a warm hug on a wet evening. It is.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
It is a lovely blanket after a traumatic event. That is perfect. Yeah.
I think
I'll accept that. There you go.
What else do we have? We had hamsters.
The hamsters were so cute. Oh man, I love the little like subversion of them. It's like stalking Goku and these big evil red eyes, and they come out and they're just the cutest, fluffiest things ever. And
you know what?
I enjoyed them bothering Vegeta so much because he's just like he's such an angry little gremlin, and that's just so silly. I don't know. That stuff was so fun to me.
I don't know if anyone else had this kind of like, it's just, I can't stop. Like, it's just almost like, it's scarred into my mind right now. But I think there's like 2 or 3 frames where you get to see the dog's anus drawn.
Oh, don't worry. I put those in the slides. It's the best part of the episode.
Do you know what? Not only does that dog have an anus, that anus is on the character sheets. That is built into the design.
I will say my favorite part of this Hamtaro section, this like hamster section, was the line where Vegeta's like, "What are you doing? Just defeat it." And Goku responds something to the tune of, "What? That's so mean." I like that bit. Yeah. It did also seem a bit on the nose. Like, why are you doing this? Couldn't we end this episode in 1 second? No, what the hell?
No, you can't be mean to the animals. This is directly addressing the annoying power scalers. It's like, just let Goku be cute and have fun, okay? And also, for someone who claims to like despise anime so much, you knowing and bringing up Hamtaro is really funny.
I only know it just like through cultural osmosis in like the 90s and 2000s, I feel like.
I see.
I think I remember it being on Fox Kids when I was a little kid or something.
I don't know anything about it.
Fun.
I literally just know the name, and I can kind of picture the main hamster guy. That's about it.
I think it was on around the same time Sailor Moon was on. I feel.
Yeah.
I think the only animal encounter that I was like, ooh, that's kind of a cute idea, was when Goku went onto the dog and fought the fleas.
He was fighting ticks. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was a really good action sequence as well.
There's the butthole for you, Mark, and for anybody watching the video podcast. It's great. That was the closest I came to laughing out loud, was the fact that they made sure to draw a little doggy butthole for this giant dog.
They should have given it really like deep 3-tone shading.
3-tone shading.
Yeah, 3-tone butthole shading. Give it the Takahashi like core shadow.
So think about this. Ticks on a dog are definitely smaller than the dog's butthole. And those ticks were huge. So how big must that butthole be? You could fit the ship in that thing almost.
It's definitely worth talking about and discussing at length.
I agree, because if you this is like, oh, they should have taken the eagles to Mordor kind of thing. They should have flown the ship in that dog's butt
the butthole,
ridden that dog into World 1.
I did like the ticks a lot. I thought that was a really nice, like, I mean, it didn't really do to serve much other than just kind of like pushing the scale, which I think this episode did really well. One of my biggest praises of this episode is it really like showed the scale of these characters quite well. That's something that's hard to do.
I don't know. I mean, the scale of this felt like it was all over the place. One second they're like the size of his teeth, and then the next second they're like smaller than like what a flea. Like they're walking in like through the forest of hair that he used.
It was a little inconsistent.
Oh yeah, because like they're walking through like a forest of grass, which is fine. That's totally fine and consistent. But that also can't be a forest of hair as well, because the hair is clearly very short. Like you can see Vegeta punching his chin right there. Like that's not like you like it's incredibly inconsistent when it comes to the scaling. But like that's like I mean whatever, it's a small nitpick. But,
I want you to know I'm gonna edit in a CinemaSins ding in the final podcast too.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't. The inconsistent scale
wrong,
didn't bother me, but it is true that
no, it didn't bother me at all.
existent.
I'm just but it was something that I noticed. Again, like this whole like encounter with the ticks, it was like a really cool inclusion, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Also, my favorite part of the episode, this Kamehameha bit.
That was great. That was a really good Kamehameha.
Yeah,
It was. I like the reverence that they're treating the Kamehameha with. It's like a big death laser.
yes,
Great.
so much. Like a
And again,
true
much
finishing
like
move.
much like episode 8, it just lights up the environment and just
yes,
whisks away all
So
sunlight. It's
awesome.
great. Yeah. They do a really good job of conveying the beams in the show.
I also thought the speed of the scene was pretty good. I feel like a lot of time. Well, okay, let me caveat this. This did have one of the problems that you get with sequences like this a lot of times, where Goku's like, I'm not going to make it. So he's saying like, oh, I can't fly to fix this fast enough. We all know Goku's flying at Mach like 300,000 or whatever. He's flying very fast. He's like, I'm not going to make it. So what does he do? He stops and channels a rather slow Kamehameha, which is a bit silly. But separate from that, I did like
power
these
of cinema.
Yeah. I did, separate from that, like the speed of the scene, where it, like, a lot of the action with this kind of felt like, oh, there's these big scary guys, but the ship's over here, and we're just kind of gotta survive until the ship's done. But this bit where the dog was, like, actively jumping on the ship, and Goku desperately needed to get him out of the way, I thought it was conveyed very well. It was the best set piece of the episode for me.
I did think like the most complex and interesting, even if it didn't like pull me into the world in a big way. I did really like the like big escape.
I did too. I was surprised you said you would get that. I really like this escape.
Well, I wouldn't gut it. I would just to me it just felt like a little bit more like standard Daima, whereas I thought the rest of the episode was like, oh, like we feel in a very different place now and a different vibe. But yeah, that was a cool sequence.
Also, this section had my all-time GOAT Hisada on it. My favorite animator in all of original Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z. So I'm incapable of speaking ill of it.
Yeah, it was a great sequence, and he did loads of stuff with the giant, and the giant was great, and he was a little schoolboy. He was cute. And you've been so mean to him for this entire podcast.
He just didn't have any character. I have no idea.
He had aura.
He had aura.
Actually, his book bag has aura right here.
That's true.
Literally.
We mentioned it, but there was mention of a bigger planet, Gigaliths. Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think that's just a throwaway line to like further establish the world?
It's honestly hard to predict that with Daima.
It's a
really
throwaway line, because every Daima episode always has to have like a random lore drop. It just does, and this was the lore drop of the episode.
Yeah. Well, there was what's the name of the metal that lets the ships fly?
Oh, the Magellite or whatever it was.
Yeah, there was that.
More lore drop.
Yeah,
Nice.
2 lore drops.
But we think that might be important.
Just why stop and have a conversation for like 2 minutes about that?
Yeah.
I don't know. We've had many conversations that have lasted significantly longer than the like 30 seconds of lore in this episode, which was very refreshing.
When Pansy first came into the fold, right? She introduced that she was in contact with some person, like that, like her guy in the chair.
Yeah. Pella.
Where the fuck is he? He showed up once and never to be seen again.
What's he meant to do?
But why introduce him? Why have him at all? If he's just going to have one line.
Well, he might
just seems
appear again, but what does he need to be doing in the last 5 episodes?
Well, like by the way, this isn't like me just kind of like, oh, this is why I fucking this isn't a major hang up I have. I just thought of him there again for the first time in ages. And I'm just like,
You thought of him was it last episode or the episode before? This is the second time you brought up that character on the podcast. I think you're actually like
true.
pretty
You
bothered
really
by
are.
the lack of him. It's like your
don't know.
favorite character
It's-
was ousted from the show.
Maybe that's
You know, somebody, I try not to look at chat too much, but somebody's just brought up something that I think could be pretty valid, which is, hold on, where was their conversation? Here it is.
the Bechdel
yeah,
test.
yeah. Is these two talking about this the first time? How long has it been since Dragon Ball has passed the Bechdel test? Other than this, it must have been a while. Maybe in
Two
Super
girls
once?
talking.
I'm
trying to
Bechdel
think,
test
like,
is
there aren't that
specifically
many-
two girls talking, not about a man. They can't be talking about a man.
Yeah, I don't think there are many times in Dragon Ball that two girls are talking.
Yeah, in the
other than,
first
like,
place,
Bulma
much
and
less
Chi-Chi.
not about one of their
Yeah.
husbands or sons.
Power of a female writer. Let's go.
True.
Female director too.
Female director,
There you go,
female
yeah.
writer. Frankly, Dragon Ball is a little feminine now. It's soy. I'm joking, just to be clear.
Oh god.
Oh,
I know
someone brought
you
up kale
are.
and cauliflower.
Jesus.
Kale and cauliflower, probably.
Yeah, maybe. but a lot of times they're talking about
Did
Kava.
they ever? Yeah, or it was like Goku
Or Goku.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next episode preview, I want to talk about one final scene in this episode. And I think
Okay.
I might have a very different opinion on it than you guys.
Oh, are we gonna end this fighting
Yeah.
again? Why?
Mark, okay, I kind of want your opinion on this, Mark, because it seems like
Okay,
AJ
why?
really loved this ending sequence. I found
Correct.
it utterly baffling.
Yeah, like I got the impression that when Goku was looking down at it, he was like, "Isn't that nice?" But I kind of felt nothing when
Yeah.
it came to these giant characters, because like really the only the only kind of like bonding, I suppose you could even call it, or exposure to them was through that schoolboy, and he didn't do anything except sit, eat some Kraken, become a violent obstacle for them, and then leave.
Yeah,
We didn't get to see any of his personality, or see, like, I mean, like, I guess we get to see that they're walking home from school, and it's cool to see that, you know, for them life goes on, and you know,
Yeah.
like they're, you know, doing
but
their thing. I suppose
then there's
in that
the
capacity, it's
sparkles and I don't like. I
mean,
get what they
there's-
were going for. They were going for this,
Yeah.
like, oh wow, this world really is quite beautiful when you step back and look at it. But it was the most like perplexingly unearned attempt at that I've ever seen.
To be perfectly
Why?
clear, to be perfectly clear, I'm happy to be won over. I might not just have understood it, but I just didn't see. To me, it seemed like sort of perplexing. I didn't understand the pomp and circumstance this ending was receiving.
Yeah, like what is the deal with these sparkles? Why are they here suddenly? Why is everybody like, wow, that really was special? For what it's worth, it wasn't just me that felt this way. I watched this with my girlfriend, as I always do, who is a big Dragon Ball fan. She's done Dragon Ball fan art, blah blah blah. And when this sequence ended, she looked over at me and said, okay, I guess." It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a strange scene to me. Genuinely perplexing.
Don't see why it was perplexing though. Like it's the end
Oh.
of the day. We've seen that the like particles, whatever they were, have floated in the shrubbery or whatever you want to call it for the entire episode. That was what made some of that stuff so wonderful. And we see as they're leaving, the time of day is changing and it's all rising up as people leave from school, and it's like, oh, there's this whole world out there that's just like bigger than any of us. Because like when you talk about that giant not having personality, it's because he doesn't even really understand what he's looking at. Like to him, these are just flies, and he's swatting at them like we would. Like that, we're inconsequential to them. And I think the reason that landed for me and why it was so beautiful is that like we're so external to anything that is happening here. They don't even have an awareness of even like the fucking madness of this world, this adventure that we're on. This world is bigger than us, and that's that feeling that I wanted from Daima, and I think that's why it connected so well with me, and why the sequence worked really well for me as well, and why like Goku looking out the window like in that lovely glow and just like sense of wonder. I was like, oh, this is great. That's why I was saying like it made me feel some kind of emotion, you know.
It made me feel an emotion. It was just laughing.
Well,
This
fine.
sequence. I mean, I get what
definitely
you're saying.
don't,
Like,
yeah.
I obviously understand that the intent was he doesn't really give a shit because to him these are basically just kind of like flies flying around. But you can, similar to this whole episode, you can do that while also doing interesting character writing. Like, you got like Saitama with the fly, where or the mosquito, I guess, where he's like dealing with this over the course of the episode, and there's like you can do interesting things with this. He's like trying to eat a meal and he gets increasingly annoyed that these flies are bothering with him, or maybe some weird thing where he is more and more confused by what's happening as time goes on, or something happens with his dog and he's angry. Like, there are opportunities to have Goku and Ko be like inconsequential flies and still instill some sense of character in this giant kid. But there just wasn't really any of that. And as a result, this like attempt at a big like sentimental ending just felt like quite funny, just like out of nowhere. Like it's I think it's partially because we spent no time here. Like, I think if there was a section at the end of the third demon world where as they were flying out, they like catch a really pretty vista and they're like, wow. They like take a second to really take that in. That would work
This
because
really
we spent a
was
long
the Dragon
time
Ball
there.
Daima.
Yeah. But this, we were here for about 15 seconds. We almost got eaten by a dog. We walked away. Suddenly, for some reason, there's a bunch of glitter in the sky, and we're like, wow, it really was Daima all along.
I don't know. To me, I think like if you start putting too much character into these people, you lose that wonder, because that's the thing that landed for me, is that like this is a place that is like, I mean, literally bigger than any of them, but just also just a complete unknown. It's a completely different world.
What I find so interesting about the whole thing, though, is especially when you can see when you look in chat, you have people that are like diametrically opposed. There's no one that seems to be in the middle.
Yeah.
It's always like, I either fucking hated it, it was the drizzling shits, it was boring, or it was the best episode, one of the best episodes. God, I don't understand how people can't like it. I think genuinely I am finding myself somewhere in the middle. I'm very much like, yeah, I got what they were going for. It didn't really super land for me, but it wasn't offensive to the point of me laughing either. So like, yeah, it just I guess I got that. It just
That's
I
didn't-
should
how
say,
you
I
know
wasn't
it's
laughing at
true
the whole
art.
episode for falling flat. It was really just this final scene that I found perplexing to the point of almost laughing.
Pure
That's
art,
fair.
divisive, and fun.
I do like Divisive.
Peak 10 out of
If
10.
only it was good.
Best adventure episode so far.
Oh, yeah, we got to rate it before we get to the next episode preview.
All right, AJ, go first.
Probably like a 9 for me.
What's the Tamagami fight? The first one.
Oh, my God, that's so funny. I forgot that he bitched about that.
Yeah, because that just felt like nothing.
Yeah, the
I don't know.
best episode in the series was pretty bad, but this episode where Goku fights Hamtaro was actually 9 out of 10.
No. Episode 8 is not bad. Episode 8 is great and is second best. But
What would you
Okay,
give it?
we're gonna have to run back the tape on that
third
one.
best, third best. I forgot about the Kraken one that I really liked.
Hang on.
That was not
One-
the sentiment
okay.
when you were
Hang
reviewing
on.
the episode.
1 second. I just have to ask.
Mhm.
Out of 10, what would you give episode was it? It was the Tamagami fight, the first one.
That's episode 8.
Yeah, okay. So what did you give that out of 10, AJ?
I would probably give that an 8.
We're gonna run
An
back
8.
because I'm pretty sure he didn't give it an 8 at the time.
I don't think we
Okay.
rated it at the time.
Maybe.
Maybe
I
a
think we did.
7.75. Maybe a
That's so funny.
7.5. I don't know.
Calling episode 8 a 7 point anything and this a 9 breaks my brain. What?
Okay, Tyson, what would
what's
you rank
mine?
it?
I think I would rank this a
If this motherfucker says 4, I'm gonna riot.
a 6.8.
Okay.
6.8.
Yeah, I'd probably
Again,
give it
I
like a
don't think
7.
it's I don't think it's offensively bad. I just think it's
I actually thought you'd give it a worse rating,
incredible
to be honest,
nothing.
given how you
Yeah,
were talking about it.
same.
No, 6.8. That's a little generous. I could maybe go 6.5, somewhere in there. I don't think it's a awful episode. I just think it's not great. What about you, Mark?
Honestly, I probably would land somewhere around the range that you put down, like a high 6, low 7.
Question is, was it better than the GT episode?
Yes, unquestionably.
Yeah.
By,
I mean,
but how
that's a
different?
pretty low bar.
You're talking about someone who like just 90% of my persona when it comes to Dragon Ball is the guy that doesn't like GT. So it's not a hard sell for me.
Like it known for the audio listeners that Trev has also given it a 9 out of 10.
I don't even necessarily abhor you liking this episode, but to give it a 9 out of 10, especially when you're giving episode 8 a like 7 out of 10, is
I did not say 7. Let's not rewrite.
You said 7.8
7
or
and 3/4. 7, no, not even 7 3/4.
Oh, sweet. Just
That
mind-boggling. I cannot believe what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I don't get that, but yeah,
No,
okay, that's fine.
not
I
at
don't
all.
need to get it. That's what opinions are for. We all have one. It's fine.
Because conceptually, it didn't deliver what I wanted it to. And this did.
It delivered the best action sequence Dragon Ball's had in decades.
Okay, and it was
some
5
very
minutes
interesting
long, and the rest
character
of the
work.
episode was not that.
First of
I liked all the episodes. to
yeah,
be perfectly
all of
honest,
the
but
episode
yeah.
was great. I cannot. Look,
Hey,
look.
if-
We already spent
yeah.
25 minutes arguing about this episode. We can't double back to episode 8. We just can't do it.
Yeah.
Fine.
All right.
Well, the next episode preview shows one of the military police who has like a fucking crazy stripe down his face that I don't think we
Yeah.
saw before.
Yeah.
Who I guess is maybe like a commander or something. And we also see Goku fucking die, and Pansy
We
is
do.
traumatized. So is everyone really, other than Hybus, who just has a slight mouth wrinkle, which is, I guess, in his facial expression repertoire, just
It's big.
genuine terror. Yeah.
He's hanging out
I
near
will
the
say that
portal to the next realm.
Yeah. They're near the portal, so I didn't really get much from this next episode preview. Obviously, it shows like, there's going to be some kind of like, tangible conflict. It's going to be at the gate, which implies progression of the story, which I'm all for.
I think the next episode will start off maybe some kind of standard Daima fare, and by the end, we will have been kicked into high gear for some crazy stuff. I say that because of the thing you mentioned earlier, where the episode after the next episode supposedly has like a special screening. So I think this episode, maybe in the second half, might kick off either some big plot line or maybe kind of the final act of the whole show. I'm not sure.
The impression I got from the way that Gomar has been is that, like, he almost feels like he's in full panic mode, all hands on deck, like, let's rally the fucking troops. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence to show some kind of, like, military police commander and then being at the gate. It's giving me, was it Endgame, where, like, all the fucking shit comes through the portal? It almost feels like Goku and Ko are about to be, like, confronted with just an army of madness. That's the kind of vibe that,
I could see
that might be crazy optimistic, but that's the kind of like energy that I would like to see.
Going from 0 to 60 again.
Yep.
Hit the ground running. Next episode, everybody dies. Let's go.
Zoom.
Yeah. First one is from Quantum Chris, who says, objectively second favorite episode, just for giant hamsters, smiley face.
Based opinion.
There you go, AJ.
Just for giant hamsters. Interesting that you're watching Dragon Ball.
For the giant hamsters.
For the giant hamsters. But
I
you
do
know
like
what? I'm
that.
happy that people found joy through the hamsters in ways
Yeah,
that I couldn't.
yeah.
It's a great. It's a great thing.
Maybe he's not really a Dragon Ball fan. Maybe this is someone from the Hamtaro fandom that has found their way
The
to the
amount
stream.
the amount of love this podcast has given to Hamtaro over the last like hour and a bit is actually crazy to me. I knew it would get mentioned once, but I think we've mentioned Hamtaro now more times than they've crashed into series. So we're going to try to avoid that moving forward, especially seeing as I haven't seen Hamtaro. I just heard of it.
It's okay. We won't spoil you on its riveting plot.
Yeah.
Who knows? I might do it. I might cover it sometime soon. Who knows?
Oh, don't say that, because there will be a
Oh my
rabid
God.
Hamtaro
What have
fan
you
out there
done?
who will hound you now.
I don't think a rabid Hamtaro fan exists.
What are
Oh,
you
you'd be
saying?
surprised.
Hamtaro.
Brother, there are Thomas the Tank Engine nuts out there. Like,
Yeah,
Thomas
come
the Tank Engine is class.
on. I think it's clear. Mark's perception today, episode 13 of Daima, 6 out of 10. Hamtaro, 10 out of 10. I mean, no,
Yeah.
Thomas the Train, 10 out of 10.
Thomas the
Thomas
Train.
the Train. Jesus Christ.
Wait, what? What's he
Tyson,
called?
your American is showing.
Wait, what?
Thomas the Tank Engine. Thomas the
train.
Tank Engine. No,
Thomas
Thomas the
the
Tank.
Oh yeah,
Train.
Thomas
What?
the Tank Engine.
Like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't think there could be a more succinct example of just an American taking the music out of an actual property the way that you're relabeling of that show.
Okay, first of all, this isn't an American thing. This is just a me stupid thing because it was called Thomas the Tank Engine over here. I just forgot it was called that because I'm not 4 years old.
You're on a podcast talking about Dragon Ball. Come on.
That's true.
Referencing Hamtaro every
Hey,
3 to
hey.
4 seconds.
Dragon Ball's at least targeting that like preteen at least.
Teenage.
Come on, cut me some slack here.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next one? Momo submits and they say, I think this episode had a lot of beauty and whimsy that Toriyama puts into his worlds. So much of this series has felt like early Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest, and this is probably the best episode for that.
I probably
True
agree
facts,
with that.
True facts. Let them know.
I guess, like, but again, like, I think what Tyson and I both agree on is that you like having those things in the story and even prioritizing them doesn't need to preclude the things that we want in a story either.
Good storytelling.
You know, you can have really great storytelling and world building and the whimsy they're talking about all in one episode, ideally. And that's sort of like what we kind of wanted, and we just didn't get that this episode as well.
It's fine. It's a little calm before the storm.
You can't, AJ. You can't. It's fine if you like this episode, but you can't defend our point of the storytelling was bad with that's okay. You got to take a new angle here.
The storytelling was not bad.
No, he's right. The storytelling wasn't bad. There needs to be a story to be told for it to be bad.
True.
You serve.
Momo did also submit a second one, I think in reference to a conversation we were having. They say, the stuff in the initial demon world establishes how society within the demon realm works. This episode was a
True.
nice look into how the world looks, feels, and is much bigger than what we've seen before. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Okay, we've got another double header from Zeno's Benadryl Knight something that cuts off that says, first of all,
Benadryl.
that's quite a fun name. Their profile picture isn't even Zeno, unless there's another anime character named Zeno. I don't know. They say, if you could give any character or pair of characters their own manga/anime/movie, who would it be? For me, it would be Vegeta and Present Trunks.
I would like to see Hybus and literally anyone.
Yeah, but who's the other one? You got to solve for X there. Who is the other one?
Okay, I mean, Vegeta is the obvious answer. Those two are hilarious. It would just be Vegeta pissed off the entire time and Hybus just roasting him.
Yeah, but don't you need a pairing that
constantly.
offers a tiny bit more diversity than that in terms of like interactions?
No, absolute pristine, endless scenario. You could put them in any kind of scenario and it would be funny. Like, it could be as simple as like redoing Vegeta tries to cook an egg and Hybus would just roast him the entire time. Like, oh, look at this fucking pampered baby. Look at little Princey. He doesn't even know how to cook. Like, it would be great.
That's a bit
I
aggressive.
would actually like to see a story with Pansy and an adult Goku. Because I feel like that could be sort of like a reverse of how Dragon Ball began, where it was a kid Goku and more of an adult Bulma. I would like to see what that dynamic would look like. 'Cause I think it could be kind of interesting. Because
I've got good news for you. All you got to do is add in a adult Trunks, and boy, do I have a show for you. I think you really like it.
An adult Goku.
He was adult when he was Super Saiyan 4.
I also would probably put a very strong argument up for the fact that like Pansy isn't GT Pan.
You were saying the opposite. Not many.
Yeah,
episodes ago.
we've all pretty much said.
No.
it's-
I think the thing you're talking about was when I made reference to the fact that like I think I've actually explicitly said that like she isn't like GT Pan in this very specific and important way that makes her character not a burden.
Yeah. No, I mean, she does
So-
have important differences that makes her a more compelling character, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Inarguably.
Well, nothing's
go ahead.
arguable except for laws of physics. And even those.
And this
Depends on
episode,
any
apparently.
Oh, yeah, and this episode being bad. Sorry, I forgot about that.
I love how you keep saying it's bad, but you gave it like a fucking 7.
I gave it a
You have to
6.8
understand-
or a 6.5.
You have to understand that Tyson sometimes exaggerates his opinion just to piss me off. It's like part
Not-
of our like relationship.
Okay, it's not to piss you off. I'm just a hyperbolic kind of guy. Like, I live life with a certain passion.
He's
And I think
literally
maybe-
the time chamber.
Everybody in the chat type cringe on that, please. Thank you. This is kind of a boring answer because people talked about this before, but I think I would enjoy, if we're going to do new content stuff and not just going back to Z era, I think I would enjoy a spin-off show or movie or whatever with Hit teamed up with Frost. Like a good cop, bad cop, except it's not cops. It's like a mystery thriller assassin movie type situation. I think that could be fun.
Ooh, I don't know if I could think. I don't think I could watch that. I think that could. Oh, I don't know. I feel like that would be difficult to watch.
Why?
Maybe I just don't know enough about Hit or. Well, I mean, I know a little bit about
That's what the point
Frost.
of the series would be about. You would learn more.
But like, I
about
mean,
them.
there doesn't seem to be a hook, is what I'm saying. You know, whereas it's
Huh?
not. It's not. I don't know. I wouldn't be a fan of it personally. I'd check it out for sure, but like I don't have an investment in either character very much. But I suppose you can make the argument that that's sort of what the series is for. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this isn't an original thought. There have been people asking for a Hit like assassination spinoff for a while, so I'm not inventing that part. I was just trying to think of who in Universe 6 it would be interesting to pair him up with.
That one like Blade Runner episode of Super was
Yeah.
that would be
where
cool.
Goku orders his own assassination.
It's the I think it's the one before that where he like beats the shit out of Frost in an alleyway. That was sick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd
Fair.
be cool. The next question, actually, this was maybe earlier, but it wasn't showing for me for a second. We did get a lovely $99 donation from our BFF Oracle, who, first of all, has changed their profile picture. So, new year, new them.
Wow.
It is still Azula.
Thank you
It's
very
just
much.
Azula and May now, as best I can tell. But
Azula is a great character.
AJ, this is going to be the best moment of this entire podcast series for you. You ready for this?
Let's fucking go.
Oracle with $99 said, "We stand with AJ. Komaki and Hisada, goated couple."
Let's go.
See, there you go. But the thing is, like, you know, like the reasoning is again for the visuals, and like,
Yep.
yeah, the visuals are great.
Yeah, the
No,
visuals were great.
it
I do
was-
love Hisada.
So we're
and
actually
Komaki.
all in agreement there.
No. You have to understand the vibes were amazing. The vibes.
I don't care
They were
how
fine.
immaculate the vibes were.
Yeah, they
okay?
were fine.
I'm-
They were good.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, pleasant. I would put it this way: I wouldn't be in a rush to watch the episode again.
Well,
No.
that's a skill issue.
You can call it what it is, but I'm just being honest.
I just did.
We've got Zeers, who says, "Nothing to do with Daima, but how far do you think Mr. Satan would make it at the first Tenkaichi Shonen OG Dragon Ball?" So that would be the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai.
This ties into your TikToks that you've been making, right? About how
That's true.
everyone
That's true.
thinks they could beat the weaker fighters in the Dragon Ball universe, but they couldn't.
I think, depending on his luck, he maybe could have taken Ranfan's spot. I mean, she is quite strong enough to... Actually, maybe not. She was strong enough to deck Nam, and, like, he hurt. So she is still quite strong. Bacterian's
Like,
pretty
it's-
strong.
It's also, but like to be fair, it's really hard to gauge how strong Mr. Satan is because he's always compared with like demigods. Yeah, so like I mean, we're talking about a guy that can like, you know, disarm armed assailants with his bare hands and his own speed and agility. So like he's already working at like borderline supernatural levels of power and speed and definitely ability. It's just, you know, where does that have him fall in the first like or the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai? I would there's probably an argument to be made that he's probably like semi-final material.
Okay. We've gone a little too far here.
Semi-final, quarter-final material, maybe.
You're saying he's
it's very
stronger
hard to-
than Nam?
Maybe.
What? Nam can jump
I
like
mean-
100 feet in the air.
Yeah, okay, but like, okay,
Have
first of all, I
you
don't know.
seen a Satan miracle punch? Come on now.
True. This
Like,
is true.
like Satan is strong. He is strong enough that he won
Well, like,
his
it's
first
like,
victory.
My point is that like,
by himself, but he's not that strong.
Yeah. but like, it's hard to know how strong he is and what he's capable of doing because he's a gag character.
Well, no,
You know?
because
So, like-
he has shown some feats. He's like, check out how strong I am, and then he breaks like 10 tiles.
Yeah, but like again,
Actually, we
I-
know how high. Well, no, just kidding. That was filler. Go on.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like the entire purpose of him is to show him how is to show how unprepared he is.
Of course.
So it's just like if any of the other characters were presented in such a light, like they would be painted with a similarly unimpressive brush. The whole point of his character, particularly early on, is just to be unimpressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just it's a very hard one to answer. But yeah, probably not semifinals. Then maybe quarterfinals. I don't know.
I think he has a chance at making it into the tournament. What the fuck? Am I having a stroke again?
Tournament.
A tournament. I think he has a chance to make it into the tournament proper beyond the qualifying. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I think it's possible. But I think once you get into that, the final 8 or however many it is for the tournament proper, I just don't think it's happening, unfortunately. As much as I like to stand my boy Mark. Zekin says, this episode is what Daima should have been. Yet it's tried balancing mandatory fights every episode. Does Daima try to appease two fan bases to its detriment?
I don't know completely that it's trying to do too, but it definitely. I mean, we've definitely had instances, and we've even noted it rather across the podcast that like there have been many episodes where where it's like, okay, and time for the obligatory fight. We've definitely had that a couple times.
Even those never really hit me in a weird way. Like they were all fairly organic within the story, or just completely organic within the story to me. I honestly, the only fight that has felt out of place is Vegeta's, and that's just kind of because it fell flat for me. Everything else, I've been like, oh, cool, look at it go.
I mean, I agree in the sense of like, for me, these types of episodes of just like various spots within the demon world would have been cool to see. Just for like an idea of how varied and expansive that it can be. Like this was World 2, but it felt very distinct from the World 2 that we'd seen before. And I think it would have been really cool had some of the other demon worlds had a little bit more variety like this.
This is an interesting one. From Unscathed Art, who says, here's a question. If you were to write the ending for Daima, how would each of you use the setup from all of the first 8 episodes to make your ending?
It's kind of difficult. You'd want to try to prioritize the stakes. You'd want to try to prioritize the pacing, because once you've those 8 episodes dedicated to just one, you want to make sure that I like the idea that they implemented by having another team through Arinsu gather the other Dragon Balls, so it sort of like removes an obstacle that gets in the way of getting to the finale, whereas it just sort of combines the two. So like that's good in terms of pacing. I'd keep that. What I like about Dragon Ball is, and what I liked about Dragon Ball Daima is sort of synthesized really well in episode 8. And I know we keep going back about it and kind of like, you know, really singing its praises, but there's an element that Dragon Ball has that it very seldomly gets to explore and kind of bask in. But when it does, it feels that's what feels magical to me. It's the apprehension, it's the tension, it's the anticipation, it's the excitement. And I think episode 8 did a really good job of that, in like the story of the fight not being can Goku overcome, but to watch everyone around Goku discover just how special he is, and Goku showing his maturity, his tact, his fight IQ in very evident ways. And I like that about that episode. I like the atmosphere and the vibe. It passed the vibe check for me in that regard. I would like to sort of preserve that, and like obviously you want to have like something a lot of rewrites get wrong for Dragon Ball, and I'm guilty of this, is just because we are tasked with drawing, or like not drawing but trying to conceptualize a story, we focus on the plot beats a lot, and that can create a sort of sterile impression of what the actual story that we're thinking up in our heads looks like. But obviously when it comes to a Toriyama property, you have to have like a healthy appreciation and amount of comedy, and so the atmosphere can't be dire, obviously. And I thought the atmosphere that this series has struck so far has been quite good. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to say what I would have done differently or how I would have done it differently, but I would like to, like, I suppose just for this episode, like, you know, we've said it a number of times, I don't think there's anything wrong with the contents of this episode. I think it has a lot of the merits that AJ has praised. I just don't think it needs to be one or the other. I think it can be both. And I think when you do both, have great world building and great moments like this episode had, combined with purposeful story progression that kind of like speaks to consequences further on down the line, that creates anticipation, I think you create a much more interesting product. In terms of specifics for what I would like to see or how I would have done things differently, maybe crash the ship less. I don't know. Yeah,
that might be one.
Yeah, there are a few things you change, but like by and large, I'm quite happy with the shape of the series. It's just the progression and certain creative choices that have like, you know, may perhaps not been as optimized as I would have liked it to be. Like I think, like AJ said, I would have liked the Tamagami 3 fight to be much longer. I think it would have seen a lot of benefit taking that route. I would have liked the Vegeta fight. Personally, I would have liked that Vegeta fight to
be good,
have a lot more
substance,
talking. Like it felt quite hollow. It felt like it was a token Vegeta fight more than it was actual something of substance or worth to his character. I think if there's any, actually, to be honest, that Vegeta fight, I'll probably point to that as an example of how people on Twitter and online would always talk about how they always want Vegeta to finally get a win. And this episode, or that episode should be a shining example that it's not about winning, it's about how you win or how you lose. Someone can get so much more as a character out of losing than they can out of winning a fight. Vegeta is the champion of that particular mantra. He has come so far and gained so much and gained so many fans as a character through losing and winning, of course, from time to time. But it isn't whether you win or lose, it's how that takes place. And that's where I thought that fight was quite bereft of substance in that regard. So there are a few things that I would have changed, but in terms of the overall shape of the story, I'm quite happy with it. I would just like to maybe expand it a bit more, but that would obviously include, you know, extending the runtime somewhat.
Yeah. I think, first of all, I agree with your point. It really is less about what happens, the actual on the paper what happens, and more about what story is told within, which is why certain Vegeta wins or losses mean a lot more than that Vegeta fight in Daima. Also, same principle applies to this episode. It's not about what's on paper. It's about what story's told within. I would say, how would I end, given the first third, how would I end Daima? I think I would probably take a lot of the same stuff with Dr. Arinsu and the Saibai, like, Majin creatures. I think I would maybe have the second one go awry and suddenly kind of shift the focus of the series so that the first half of the series is basically Goku and Co. exploring the demon world, making friends along the way, establishing a reputation, and having some run-ins, some additional run-ins with Arinsu and Goma and all that jazz. And then as soon as something goes wrong with the Majin and it's suddenly like an existential threat, the rest of the series is now Goku and Co. with the help of the friends that they made along the way, and maybe even some like temporary allies with Goma or whatever, trying to stop the existential threat that is this like crazy Majin type situation, which does kind of run the risk of not only messing with the tone, but kind of like repeating Boo, which is a downside to this. But look, I had like 5 minutes to come up with this, so you kind of have to take what you get.
Yeah. I mean,
more tangible than Daima.
Yeah, I mean, my answer would be similar in that, like, for the kind of finale I would want, you'd have to retool a lot of early Daima, where you would get that stuff that I've been asking for, where there's like, we visit a place and like we tackle issues there and build like real rapport with the inhabitants, maybe pick up some party members, basically take the structure of an RPG, bring it to the fight. And whether, you know, Gomar is like some big, you know, godly beastly creature or something through whatever means, or if like he was a fake out and like Arinsu and her margins are like the real deal, it doesn't matter. It would lead to this big emotional moment, like you've been saying. It's almost it's why Avengers Assemble works so well. It's it's the coming together of all of these characters who you spent so much time with, who've all just built up a connection, coming together to defeat and save this one thing. And it helps because in the case of Daima, it stops it being a case of, oh, and Goku comes in and saves a whole realm. It's the realm bands together under this one person, and together they win. It's like, it's what makes, The Dark Knight Rises is a flawed film, but what makes it so powerful is that it's Batman and a city that, overcomes Bane and whatnot. It's that makes it, cool. So yeah, I'd really like to see that kind of approach. I don't know that Daima has really done enough to sort of facilitate that kind of ending, but at least something like that would be cool. Even if it's just something as simple as like, King Kadan and his forces like roll up and help save the day, next episode or something. Just like anything like that to just like lead into like a big finale would be cool.
Yeah, I could see that.
They could finally use that really cool design that girl on King Kadan had.
We get the sword girl
True. It is funny. This entire episode, I've seen people in the chat now think that I am like a Daima hater and hate this episode, this week's episode, because it was like boring and filler, which I do find funny because I am surely of the three of us the biggest Daima enjoyer and defender of the lot. Like I love everything that Daima has done, and its slower pacing and more comedic and like character-centric writing. It's just this episode, really.
It certainly doesn't sound like it, though, does it?
That's definitely what's made this podcast episode so funny, is that, like, I feel like for so much of this run, like, obviously we've all been enjoying Daima, but, like, Tyson has definitely been this is peak, love everything, and I think I've been, like, pretty critical at times. So for it to, like, reverse in an episode like this is really funny.
And I've just been very consistent.
Skullinity says, I'm actually a GT fan, but I'd give this episode 8.5. I agree with the points AJ made, but I also give episode 8 9.5.
That's fine.
Your first mistake was agreeing with what AJ said.
No. All of this stuff is making me feel very vindicated. The worst part is I feel like, right, even though a lot of the chat's been very kind to me, as soon as I upload the VOD for this edited, I reckon the comment section is going to fucking obliterate me, and I think they'll be with you too. I've just got a sense.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to say.
Yeah, the jury's out. We will convene on this next week.
If you enjoyed this and would like to tune in live, be sure to head over to Totally Not Mark's main channel, where we live stream this podcast at 8 p.m. UK time. That's 2 p.m. Central every single week until the end of Daima. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.